Hello and welcome to the Nxtpro show. It's Matt Reynolds hanging out with you here on a Thursday night. We had to wait on the show, and here's why, folks. We had not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, but 7 events to go over. So we had a lot to go over, a lot of time to lay it out and go over everything that happened from this past weekend in session 3. We're getting ready for session 4. I know a lot of you will be watching this as you're on the road or in the airplane. Headed to your next event. So best of luck if you're headed to Tampa, Oklahoma City, or Valley Forge this weekend, which we've got, again, events all over the place this weekend. Again, girls live period is not this weekend, but the next weekend. It is on the realm. I just got in from the desk that we've already had 6 colleges just in the past hour that have registered for the girls live event. We're very excited for that. That number is going to continue to grow. Just launched that link today. So here in the last number of hours. So very cool. We appreciate all of those schools that are hopping in there, and we know that many more of you are going to join. Speaking of that, before we get to some girls coverage and talk on the show here tonight, we want to start in Walnut Creek, California, where we had an exclusive middle school event only. And I want to just highlight, obviously we're not going to be able to highlight everybody tonight. We got a lot to pop around, but I have to highlight Relentless. And I want, John, roll the clip on Relentless because it was impressive what they were able to do all weekend long. And of course, there's, hey, you know how the show goes. You know that there's going to be many things where we're going to be able to, break this down throughout the show and talk about the undefeated team. So I give my shout out to start the show with Relentless. We'll come back to Walnut Creek later in the show. But I had to start with the shout out to you guys because I was very, very impressed. Undefeated weekend from them. There was a lot of impressive athletes out there in the middle school space. And that was one of a kind. For us, that's the second time we've done that, a middle school only event. It allows the focus to be on the middle school, which is really, really cool. So speaking of that, let's turn the page to the girls' side. And I want to start in Fort Collins. You're seeing here on the screen, this is Colorado Lockdown. And you talk about their squad, obviously led by Isabella Shumpert. Stewie 30 attendee, got to see her there. She is super, super talented, but they've got a whole squad. They did lose this weekend. There was some tough competition out in Colorado, but I think that for them, what was most important, and I would say this for all of the young ladies that are heading into the live period, is they're getting ready for the live period. These are all warm-up events, so if you drop a game or two, it happens. There's definitely there was one undefeated team in each age out there in Fort Collins, which, again, we'll talk more about later on in the show. But I want to give a shout out to them and what they were able to do. Just impressive. Very, very impressive. And shout out to them. I think they're going to have a very, very big weekend coming up in Norman. And, again, pause. We're going to talk later on in the show more about Fort Collins because we got to give shout out to all the undefeated teams, which it was just one per age. So it was a very, very competitive tournament out there. But another competitive tournament we had on the girls' side was in Atlanta, where the traffic's not my favorite part about Atlanta. But there is a lot of other favorite parts about Atlanta. A lot of great competition. And we bring on, coming up for our first guest here, Khalil. Khalil, welcome to the show. Appreciate you joining. And, man, we've got a lot to talk about because Atlanta had a lot of talent, didn't it?
Oh, man, it was full of talent on each age group. I mean, I saw some younger girls that were really good that have a chance to be high level Division I prospects. So, I mean, a lot of talent in Atlanta for sure.
Well, let's start with Taylor Young. She was really dominant for AWG, had a big weekend with the 17U. What stood out from her performances to me was the consistency level that she seemed to bring every game.
Honestly, I mean, she was one of the best players there all weekend long, just consistently being dominant in the paint. She, had every rebound. But the most intriguing thing that I thought Taylor Young did was protect the paint defensively. I mean, she had 5 or 6 blocks each game, the entire weekend. That and then her ability to put the ball on the floor at 6'4", to score off the wing and really create, I thought was a huge thing for her to do. And then lastly, of course, getting double teams out of the post, being one of the better players on the floor, she did a really good job of finding her teammates all weekend as well.
No doubt, and that's huge. If you're getting doubled, somebody's open. Somebody's open. There's only 5 players on the floor, so somebody's open. Let's talk about Rise. They had a big weekend, 17U, and had several young ladies that were able to stand out with what they were able to put on the floor.
I mean, one of the best girls for that team, I think, was Aubrey Brasher. Honestly, they were a really talented team, but she was consistently a star in her role. I mean, she did everything when it came to rebounding, scoring in the paint, showed off some really good footwork. But the best thing about her was she was consistent. She was probably a double-double girl every game this weekend, and she really helped her team win. When she gets on the floor, obviously her teammates' energy increase, level of play increases, and she was honestly one of the best girls on that team and one of the best girls this weekend.
Wellington Wolves 15U seemed to be one of the best teams that we had there, just period of age group. They performed at a very, very high level every game out.
Honestly, it's not too often that you see a girls team press all game long, full court. Kind of gave me that Kim Caldwell defensive scheme. And they were really well coached, played with energy, and it was like a run and gun Mike D'Antoni style of play. I mean, they were talented from start, point guard to center to everybody off the bench. And honestly, they went undefeated this weekend and were probably one of the better teams, regardless of age group, that I saw.
Carly Sibby was one of the breakout performances, a 2028 prospect that's got a ton of upside.
She was fantastic. And it's very rare that I say a 15U girl can be a Division I prospect this early. Obviously, it's a little early to tell, but I mean, her ability to control the game at that age, I mean, her pace, being able to put players in the right spots, facilitate. I mean, she scored from all 3 levels, hitting threes wide open, had a really good pull-up mid-range game, and then honestly just finishing consistently. And that's just the offense. The defensive part, she stayed in front of her opposing guards, caused turnovers, and brought the energy and leadership you want to see from a high-level point guard. And at 15 years old, I mean, she was impressive.
She versus the Charlotte Monarchs seemed to be one of the best games we had all weekend long. Very, very competitive all the way throughout.
By far, I think the most competitive game this weekend. Both teams, both talented rosters, really well coached. The game was really back and forth a lot. I mean, Caitlin Williams, Malia Gilbert for team she were fantastic. I think Caitlin finished with about 30 points and 9 rebounds. And then you got Shariah Harris for Charlotte Monarchs, who was probably my second vote for MVP of the weekend, really dominated for her team. Of course, they were back and forth. Team She made a good push of trying to get back into it, but Shariah Harris was just a little too much for them. I mean, Charlotte Monarchs went undefeated as well this weekend, and they absolutely put on a game versus Team She.
Talk about Taylor Young, Shariah Harris. If we're talking about the player of the week in Atlanta, it seems to be those two were the conversation.
Absolutely. And I got to ask what my MVP was. And honestly, I'm going back and forth with it each time I get asked. But those two are by far the most dominant players and honestly have some of the most potential that I saw this weekend. Taylor Young, like I said, she's 6'4", can handle the ball some, really good in the paint. But Shariah Harris was also taller guard, really good at handling the ball with pressure, finishing. I mean, both girls were, in my opinion, Division I girls. And if I had a chance to offer them, I'd probably offer them right now, or at least have them on campus tomorrow if I could.
Says a lot. Says a lot. You got to start recruiting. Definitely, I think, you compare the women's side in college to the men's side. It feels like college coaches are still recruiting at that 15U, 16U level more versus on the the men's side. They're not recruiting at that age, just with the portal. So it's obviously still changed on the women's side, but it feels like it's changed slightly less to where they're still looking at those prospects at that age. Give me the breakdown. Now, you've been all over for us. You've obviously seen multiple events now in Atlanta, but been elsewhere as well. When you take away from this particular girls event, what is the takeaway just of style of play, the tempo that you saw that maybe was a little different than what you were anticipating?
Well, I'm normally watching girls play. They're a lot slower, not necessarily in pace in general, but just you don't see a lot of girls team press a lot. And I think Kim Caldwell, the job she's done at Tennessee and how she presses, I think that started to trickle down to some of the younger age groups. I might have saw 4 or 5 teams press all weekend long. And a lot of the run and gun offense that you see on the guys' side, I think is also translating to the girls' side as well. As a lot of teams were getting up shots early in the shot clock. Just something that I personally haven't seen much out of the girls' side that I like that I'm seeing now. So that was one of the things that surprised me the most. And honestly, a lot of the girls' teams are going with that 4 guard, 1 big kind of lineup that you haven't seen, that I haven't seen that often. So it was
it's
really
an adjustment. Big adjustment. And I think that's where the game's headed. You look at all the players in the game. We just spent a lot of time with Brianna Stewart down in Miami, the Stewie 30 camp that we've run with her. And you look at the way the game's translating, and it feels like that's the way it's headed, which is, it is faster. It's more entertaining. It's fun to watch. So before you go, I want to give the shout outs to the undefeated teams. And if you want to chime in here, I'll let you, you could read them off and give me a little take on any of them that you were able to see that we haven't touched on already.
I'll start with Foundation Academy. They were really, really talented, really well coached. They have a 6'6" big, and excuse me if I pronounce her name wrong, Safara Garbra. Still kind of raw in her development, but at 6'6", obviously she was able to control the paint. She was able to rebound, block shots, and she showed glimpses of what she could be and her potential, and I think she has a really high ceiling. So I tried to make sure I watched them as much as I could this weekend, just looking at her and seeing kind of how she developed as the games went on this weekend. Going to the Charlotte Monarchs, obviously I talked about Shariah Harris. She was phenomenal. Again, back and forth from my MVP this weekend. She was really
It's always good when we have it's not just a clear definitive. I mean, I guess there's good to both sides. When you have a clear definitive, that is nice in some ways, but it's not the worst thing in the world to have some competition for that too.
Absolutely. I mean, she already has the Elon offer, and I sent her name out to a couple college coaches that really, really liked her. So I'm sure they'll come to that live period and check her out. I was able to see the Wellington Wolves 15U. I talked about them a lot earlier, but I mean, that team was probably the most complete team I saw, regardless of age group. Just how fast they played, how well they defended, the energy they brought. It's not very often that you see that from a 15U team, right? But man, were they fantastic in Atlanta. And there was a lot of teams that I thought were really good, but I think they should be able to compete with a lot of 16U teams as well, just with that talent that they have and how hard they play. And then I'll go to the Jersey Aces. I was really impressed with their program top to bottom. That 13U group was really, really good. And again, young girls have kind of been my theme for this weekend, but they had a lot of talent that I thought would definitely develop into some really good talent. Again, Carly Stibbe was on their 14U team. I mean, Ella Bachmore was on that, I believe, either 13 or 14U team. I mean, they had a lot of talent. That was really impressive.
And the young prospects on the women's side of the game, it feels like they can impact at a little different level sometimes than, a boy who's at 15 years old. Every now and then you get a really, someone that can stand out at a 17U age, but it just feels like the higher level girls can impact faster, at that upward mobility from that standpoint. So it's impressive. It's impressive. Well, Khalil, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you being a mainstay, and we'll see you. Where's your next stop with us?
I am in Valley Forge this weekend, so I'll be heading out tomorrow.
Biggest tournament. Hey, how about this? Here's a fact for you to leave the show with. Biggest tournament to date, Valley Forge for the year. So a lot of stuff going on there. We've got a big girls tournament there, but also a big guys tournament, and they're split. So girls has their own facility, guys have their own facility. It's going to be awesome. So be safe traveling up there, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely, and hopefully I can get over there and pop into some of the girls' games as well.
Yeah. Check out that side as well for sure. So appreciate your coverage, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for having me.
That was Khalil. Before we get to our next guest, which again, we have so much still left to break down, I want to throw up the Fort Collins undefeated team list, as we had just one per each age. And I thought this was awesome. So first off, you've got Utah Hoops. What a weekend you guys had. Not often that we clap. I think this is my first claps on the show. Great job. Seriously. 17U with some big time wins. 16U with some big time wins. When you go undefeated like that as a program in those top two older age divisions. I think that is, I mean, it is really impressive. Network Elite, one, love your name. You should always be networking in life, right? That's always a good thing. Shout out to them. And then Texas Flames, 14U, really, really big weekend, traveling up from the state of Texas. You know, they were very energized to start this season as a program, and to see them captured in week one with a undefeated weekend was just awesome. And then last but not least, High Major. If you looked at the girls page, you kind of saw they had a little cameo. How about that? So kudos to them. They were in the Fort Collins, the city of Fort Collins did a video on our event, which we appreciate. Fort Collins, shout out to Bree. We appreciate all that they do. But they were a big, instrumental part in a big weekend this weekend out in Fort Collins at NOCO. And, for the 13U squad for High Major, they got to see part of Fort Collins, which it's a unique place, very cool place. We enjoy it quite a bit. So boys events coming up there here before long. Let's take a brief break before we get to our next guest. We're going to bring on Trey Sterner, talk to him and start all of our boys coverage. We had 5 boys events from this past weekend. We're going to take a short break. Be right back after this. Welcome back to the Nxtpro show. We've already covered the girls' events to start the weekend, touched a little bit on the Walnut Creek Middle School boys event as well, but we've got a lot, and I mean a lot to dive into that's still left on the show here today. My next guest is none other than Trey Sterner himself. We decided, by the way, before the show, we're going to have an award for the best scout of the year designed by Trey. Maybe after Trey's likeness. What do we know? But he does a great job. In all seriousness, nextprohoops.com. Check out all of his work and his team's work. They are working really, really hard to make sure everyone's covered. Girls side, guys side. Obviously, look, they can't see everybody. So we send out some stuff every week where you can send in, hey, this player had a big game. Use it. It's all through our Event Connect platform, Nxtpro Sports app. Lots of opportunities there. So check your emails, check your text messages. We send you those alerts. And make sure and get that to us. We want to cover, again, as many as we can. Trey, you were in Omaha. Home event this past weekend. Micaiah Sanders is where I want to start. 4-0 weekend. He was instrumental in making that 4-0 weekend happen. Trey, you are muted. See, I hyped you up, Trey, and then you gave me a rookie move. Come on now. It's live television, folks. Live television.
You made me nervous saying the trophy was going to look like me. Micaiah Sanders, though, he's Nebraska Supreme 17U, their Pro 16 team. He's been excellent the first 2 weekends I've seen them play. He was also excellent all year in Nebraska, as I kind of covered high school hoops in Nebraska this year too. But he's just a super fast guard, has some bounce to him, as you can kind of see in those clips there. Can kind of get up and get around the rim there. But he makes so many plays for others on both ends. All up in other guards' grills, forces turnovers. He's just fun to watch.
I got to say, look, we haven't come out with our official Pro 16 predictions. And it was not me. So let me say, it was not me. My hands are up. It was not me. But someone in the office who got an early look at the Pro 16 schedule had this Nebraska Supreme team, I think, winning 2 games out of 13 in the regular season. Pro 16 regular season has not started. But what I will say, Trey, is I think that someone was incorrect, because they're better than even I thought they were. Again, I was not the two-win person here, but they are a team that it feels like could sneak up on some people and maybe beat some people that, if you're looking at, they're on this paper and they're on this paper, they should match up. But I feel like they're going to be able to compete by the look of what we've seen here in just 2 tournaments. They had 2 warm-up tournaments with us, one in KC and one here in Omaha.
Yeah, they've been really good so far. I think they're going to sneak up on people, including whoever said that at the office. I think I have an idea. I will point out, I mean, Nebraska Supreme fans, you could probably go back to that KC show, and I think Matt kind of doubted them too. So
No, I'm still a doubter. Let me just say I'm not 2-win level, but I would say at a 13 game sample size. Let's just make sure we're clear on here. So I don't have them going 2-11. I probably have them going. I'd set the line of 5, maybe 5. I think that's reasonable. Again, they're playing some Goliaths out there, so they are the David in the situation. We'll see, but I don't know if you've done your reading on that story, how it goes. David does beat Goliath, so it can happen. It can happen.
Not betting against that team. A lot of winners on that squad.
And I think that's something as we get into the season. On the Nxtpro side, we're seeing this. And on the Pro 16 side, we're seeing this. Winners win. And sometimes the ranking maybe not is there for a team like that with Nebraska Supreme. They don't have a ranked guy nationally, but they have guys that have won at a high level. They've done it, and sometimes those teams win. So I think that's the reality of something we need to look at. Tevin Schultz, Braden Chapman, those were two of the prospects coming into this weekend, weren't talked about a ton, and I feel like we're leaving the weekend, and I've seen a ton of stuff on them.
Yeah, Tevin Schultz coming into a new situation on that MPJ team. He played somewhere else last year, but he's from Iowa. He was really, really good this season, or this high school season, and also really good this past weekend. Very skilled forward. He's got strong 6'7" build, made 4 threes in one of their games. But he really kind of turned up that MPJ offense a notch when they kind of struggled at times over the weekend. So I think he's going to be a really key piece for them as the season moves along. And then Brandon Chapman was just electric all weekend. I think he had a 30-plus point game. He was on fire from beyond the arc, but part of probably what's one of the best backcourts we have in the Nxtpro League with him and Amir Danforth and Champ Parker. They're just really good players. They can all, Brandon and Amir shoot the heck out of it, and then Champ is strong, gets downhill. So they were.
Well, let me stop you right there because I want to continue that conversation on because Halliburton team. By the way, Hallie, the new logo it's awesome. Awesome. I know I'm an old guy, so I don't know the cool things to say about it, but it's really cool. Love it. You're seeing the highlights of this game here, though, that we're talking about. Halliburton and Team FEV, I think, had the highest scoring game we've ever had in circuit history. Now, I can't confirm that. You are our statistician, Trey, but the score was 97-96.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've ever had a game. We've had some teams score in the 90s, and I think even a team at one point scored into the hundreds. But we've never had both teams. And I mean, this was a game for the ages.
Yeah, it was a shootout, really intense all the way through. Both teams just find a way to get the ball in the hoop. I don't know. I'll call it good offense instead of bad defense on that one. Just some really
you got to.
Really skilled guys there, but went into overtime. I think it kind of showed how our Nxtpro League has some heat too.
Yes.
Team Albert in their first event, they found out that Nxtpro side is real. So I think it was a great little preview for them of the season and a really fun matchup to watch.
Well, and they weren't the only ones. There's some other teams on some other circuits that found out the Nxtpro teams can play too. Kenny Mullins, way to go, buddy! Shout out to you. Good weekend from them that they had out on the West Coast, beating some other rival shoe company teams. So we show love all over the place here. But I think you're right. The Nxtpro squads have gotten better, and frankly, we're seeing that in our events as they do some warm-up events before they come to our circuit. That it is very, very evident there is a different level of intensity and even a heightened talent level, even a heightened coaching level. To be quite honest, some of the coaches that we have in this league are really, really freaking good. Next up, let's talk about Diego Landon. Diego had a big weekend. D1 New Mexico, D1 Mexico, I should say. Really, really great start for him. And obviously a crew that they've got a family. I said D1 New Mexico because that's how they got involved in what we do. They've got a big family of D1 teams all across the country. This team obviously coming from Mexico, a great opportunity, great experience for them, and they performed really, really well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching them after what I'm sure was a long travel to get up to Nebraska. But Diego Landon was really good for them. He's a big, strong guard, probably 6'4", 6'5", muscular, gets downhill, gets to the rim at a high level, but he can also, create off the bounce and hit jumpers from three in the mid range, defend multiple positions, get on the glass, and, turn defense to offense quickly. So I think they're going to be someone that can give people some trouble throughout the season. And Landon is right at the top of that list.
Trey Paulding, MPJ Elite. Trey had a good start. MPJ Elite, a slow start. And again, they're one of those teams. They found out, you mess around, you find out, Nxtpro teams can go. So they took their lumps a little bit this weekend, but ultimately had a lot of success as well. But I think when we talk about Trey as a prospect, elite level prospect, and someone that's a nationally ranked player, we expect his ranking to continue to rise. And he is the leader of this MPJ team. They put a lot on his shoulders, but what we found out very, very quickly, I felt like, Trey, was that Trey Paulding, he could handle a lot on his shoulders, and he has a lot of ability to do some impressive things.
Yeah, Trey's a really exciting prospect. That MPJ team, I think they're still finding their chemistry. First weekend for a lot of those guys together. They have at least 3 new pieces on that team. So kind of figuring out, what their identity is on offense and what they want to do defensively. But Trey is, he passed the eye test. If you see him in these videos here, he's big. He's got a long wingspan. He can defend.
Good hops.
Yep. Can defend, almost anywhere. Has some skill with the ball. I think that's Jalen Timmons in that video too. He was great. Really bouncy guard, explosive. But Trey, I think when you look at what colleges want on the wing, Trey does a lot of those things. So I think he's gonna see his recruitment skyrocket over the next 2 or 3 months.
And I think the MPJ team, this was good for them this weekend. This is why we encourage our teams, hey, you might want to play in a warm-up event before you go play some real heat. And this was their warm-up event. Again, they're going to get things worked out. And they're a team similar to maybe a Nebraska Supreme, where not a lot of people have them doing, maybe winning 10 out of 13 games and going 10-3. I don't know if anybody in these offices within these walls and confines has them doing that, but they can sneak up and surprise you. And frankly, all that matters if you're a Pro 16 squad, 17U, you've got 28 other teams you're competing with to get 16 spots. So it's getting inside the top 16, whether that's, and we don't know what that record's going to be to get to be in the top 16. It may be 8 wins, it may be 7 wins. I'm not sure. Depends on how much we, beat up on each other when we have our interconference play. It's the old adage of, the SEC's 58-58 against each other. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose, Trey. But as we get closer to the Pro 16 season on the guys' side, boy, oh boy, we're starting to find out there's going to be the bottom teams are really good. And so sifting through that bottom, you're still going to have to play really well to beat those teams, even if you're, quote unquote, supposed to be one of the better teams.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be a gauntlet in that Pro 16 league. I spent a lot of this week kind of catching up on film from some of those teams that played elsewhere last weekend. BTI, was one that looked really, really good out at West Mania. AAO Flight looked really, really good. The Placide twins, Kamarion Bede for BTI. Isaiah Rogers was excellent. 1 of 1. I watched them. They looked pretty impressive. Have some pieces on that team that can take some people by surprise. Josiah Sanders looked, dominant at times, especially on the offensive end. He's going to skyrocket this summer. And then YGC, watching them at Dual and DFW, they were excellent. Avery Webb is shooting the cover off the ball.
How about the buzzer beater? That was an incredible shot from that. If you haven't seen that, go check that out on YGC's page. But yeah, no, some big wins. Most notably, you talk about BTI beating Why Not. I think Why Not's one of the best teams, if not going to be one of the best teams in the country on any circuit. So for BTI to have that win going into the Pro 16 season, I'm sure that gives them immense confidence. And it's going to be, hey, you got to do it here too. You can't show up and just be like, oh, well, we beat one of the best teams on any of the circuits. We're just going to roll over teams. That is not going to work that way. So we will, by the way, I'll leave you with this. And then I've got one more Omaha question to finish you up is we are going to have a schedule release show for the Pro 16 within the next 2 weeks. So be on the lookout for that. We have their full schedule. We know who they're going to play, which, by the way, includes a lot of Nxtpro teams. So there is a lot of Nxtpro teams that will get their crack and get their opportunity at playing some of those Pro 16 teams and showing, hey, we belong too. We belong too. But I got in with this. Jacob David, what a week he had for Colorado Collective. He looked like if we were going to pick an MVP, he might have been the surefire bet out there.
Yeah, I mean, they beat everyone they played by 20 plus, I think, this past weekend. He came into Kansas City, dominated last week, and has just rolled that over into this week. He's looking like one of the Nxtpro league prospects that could, take that Ian Inman, Mason Abbottson path eventually, where, they kind of skyrocket up in their recruitment and get some much needed attention, much deserved attention. But he's just a skilled guard. He has that frame for the modern game. He's 6'4", can move really well, sees the floor, can make plays for other, but just a really impressive scorer and overall two-way player. So I'm expecting big things from him as we kind of approach that live period.
All right, we got to hold you over for one more thing. We're trying something new this week. I like it. We're going to run through the undefeated list. Now, I know obviously, you saw some of these teams, some teams you did not. But I want to run through the list. There's a lot here. I'm going to let you read the teams, and if you've got anything to add, throw it in there. If I got anything to add, I'll stop you. But run through our list and give them some shout-outs and some love for what they were able to do out in Omaha.
Yeah, Nebraska Supreme, already talked about Micaiah, but his twin Uzziah Sanders was great. Derek Tonjes was really good for them all weekend. Supreme 2, Riley Meininger, Cal Kissinger had good weekends. Iowa Battlers 17U. That whole team has been cooking lately. Charlie Crane and Noah Martins have been getting a lot of attention, but Jake Pargin's been really good as well. Real phenom. I honestly didn't get a chance to see them as much. Iowa Suns. Luke Lorenzen, 6'10" kid, has some great
6'10",
Yep.
Put it on the board. 6'10".
Yep.
That's you always got to point that out.
Yep. Region Force, good weekend. Quad City Shockers got that big win over MPJ.
Huge. And that's going to go a long ways in the standings, which we'll have later on in the show. So stay tuned.
Spencer Bia, Carter Light, Lawson Zulu for them are really good core players. Nebraska Supreme Pro 16 has been just whooping teams, honestly. It's been pretty fun to watch. They've got some really good players, Evan Rogers, Brevin Myers, Bryce Johnson Jr. All three of those have been playing really well. Halliburton 16U, got Howard Williams just coming onto the league. He looked really dominant at times. I think he had a 40-plus point game in one of their last games.
He was awesome. Trey. I think, that Halliburton 16U team is a real contender to do some things at the 16U Pro 16 level, and a large part of it, just it's his first weekend with the team, so he's still figuring out the team. That being said, if you're figuring out the team and you're dropping 40 balls, I mean, I wonder what it's going to be once they figured it all out at that point. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I've said it since I watched him at Hoop Hall a couple months ago. I think he's one of the highest potential players in that 27 class, so really excited to keep.
Number 13 on 3 for those that don't know. So that's his highest ranking right now with any service, 39th in the industry. And I think that 39 with the industry is going to continue to move up as more and more people get to see his talents. Definitely a talented young man in Howard Williams.
100%. I lost the rankings on there. There we go. KC Spurs, their whole program has been playing really well. Wolfpack.
It's what they do, man. It's what they do.
They just keep coming back. Casey Ago has been on another level this year. I was talking to Kyle Unruh about it. They've been playing.
Shout out to Robert Logan, baby. Way to go, Robert.
Yep.
Way to go.
Waukee Jam 16U East has been very, very impressive. Collective, Jacob David, Trey Boswell, Lincoln Supreme 16U, KC Spurs Weston, another Spurs, Iowa Battlers. I'm telling you, Battlers are going to make some noise.
Hey,
coming.
you know what? They've been awesome on the girls' side, and now we're learning they're just a good program. They're just a good program all the way across the board. The guys' side, the girls' side. The girls' side was the first side that impressed week 1, but now we're just kind of finding out, man, they're just about it. They're about it.
Yep, great program. Rocky Mountain Fever, Multiplier Basketball. Multiplier Basketball has had some good weekends back to back.
Yes, they have. Shout out to Multiplier Basketball.
Sorry, I'm having trouble seeing it a little bit, but I'm going to keep going.
John's he wants you to get your readers out.
I know he wants me to put my glasses on. 816 Hoops, Shamit, always a force.
Yep.
Lincoln Supreme 14U, Prolific Proteges, TME 13 and 12U, that dominating that middle school division. And then Rockford One Shot 11U. Rockford One Shot's 11U and their 16U have been playing well the last couple of weeks. So shout out Rockford One Shot.
Yeah, shout out to them. Shout out to them. Well, Trey, thanks so much. Appreciate you running that down. Listen, again, nextprohoops.com. Can't say it enough. They've got a lot of great coverage, so go check it out. And Trey, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, sir.
All right. We keep moving on. We got a lot to talk about. Next up is my man who is breaking the news. And that doesn't just include Nxtpro news or the Pro 16 circuit. That also includes the NBA. So first off, shout out to our man, Chris Dotson. He's had a big week, breaking a lot of stuff. So we're just appreciative to have him on our team. And he's on the road. He's on the road. So we're going to get you in and out as quick as we can, I promise. But I had to talk with you about Brian because Brian had some ballers down there. And awesome facility, first off. I'm sure you loved it. It was great. Legends is always a really, really great place. But we got to start with Nick Merman, Rashad Phillips, and Carson Clifford. Those guys set the tone and really had a big, big weekend down there.
Yeah, when you're scouting and you get into these gyms, you can kind of just bounce around, stand in the middle of the four courts. And by halftime, you can kind of tell who the best player is on each court. Unless it's a really good game that's going to get your attention, then you really want to get engaged. But those three guys, they all had like that best player on the court aura. That's really just hard to forget. And I mean, I've talked about Nick for weeks. Rashad, this is the first week I've seen him. Carson Clifford, seen him once before, but he really jumped out with an 88-point weekend, 22 points per game. I mean, he's 1-3 away from having the first 100-point weekend on the circuit. So he got my eye. And I mean, not only my eye, he had opponents walking away, giving them, hey, he's nice. And when other people are giving that compliment, the ref, the opponents, the parents from the other team, those kids stand out. And those three kids really enveloped that the most down in Texas.
No doubt. No doubt. Speaking of Texas, BYC, it's been one of our historical programs in the state of Texas. They had an awesome weekend. Above all was big time in the Florida Bayhawks. Let's talk about those three clubs and just what they were able to bring to the table this weekend.
Yeah, Bayhawks, I've seen them in Atlanta. I've seen them last year. They've been nothing but class, never had any problems with them. They always put out some teams that, if not undefeated at this point, they're highly competitive going into the rest of the circuit. And you can really tell if a team is good by how they do against the Bayhawks. And that's, really nice to have. It's a boxing terminology, tomato can. There are no tomato cans, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to have those gatekeepers where if they're blowing a team out and they do it once or twice, that team probably needs to go to work. But if they beat the Bayhawks once or twice or give them good games, they probably got some talent you want to go check out even more. And above all, BYC, both of their coaches come up to me and just said, hey, we appreciate y'all being out here doing certain things right. And I had to tell them, I'm hanging around your game because what y'all are doing right and how you warm up and get prepared and that sort of stuff. And that's why you are where you're at in the standings. And hopefully one day their kids will be on the road like me on the way to an NBA gym, but they're really doing things the right way.
No doubt. Speaking of your work, Mr. Dotson, I love your interviews. So again, if you haven't yet, go check out his interviews. He does interviews every single week. I think it's great because one, it helps kids just in life, be able to talk in front of the camera. Someday you're going to have to talk in front of a bunch of employees. You're going to be their boss. You're going to have all these things. This is what athletics does. This is what basketball does. Who was your favorite interview down there in Bryan that you had?
Oh, my favorite interview. I'm gonna go with. What's that?
I said I threw you a twist. You weren't expecting.
You threw me a twist, but I actually, as soon as you threw that out there, I said, you know what? I even posted and did the interview with a kid. In 4 years of scouting at any level, I don't watch the shots go in. I see how the shots get created. Carter Savoy, Apex, 6'3". He was a one-man press. I even gave him one of the first nicknames I've given a kid. But he's the kind of prospect that averages the same all the way up. And he just caught my eye. He was the first scorer.
Hold on. We got to stop you. What was the nickname?
Savvy Savoy, a.k.a. Young Sav OMP for one-man press. But he was the first scorer, scorer, that got me to stick around and watch the rest of the game. So, yeah, Young Savvy OMP, me. They probably don't know that beat, but y'all know the beat.
Dotson, we got to have you every week. I'm going to ask you from now on. Every week we have you on. what was your favorite interview? And then I need you to give a nickname to somebody out there, because that's just too good. So we're gonna have to keep following up on that. But that's that's awesome stuff.
At this rate, a nickname is about 1 in 20 every interview, so it's gonna be tough. I'll give an interview to some kids just to encourage them, but if you need a nickname, that's gonna be tough. I mean, if y'all haven't seen the other show, the other Nxtpro show,
special only,
right? I'm 2-0 in the Around the Horn. I'm wearing the Muhammad Ali Louisville lip shirt. We're gonna keep it going like that. So
I like it. He's on a winning streak. Before we get you out of here, just final thoughts on anybody we haven't talked about in Brian that really stood out to you.
Off to you. Their program had two guys, Jabari Washington, Chandler Randall. Both are 25, 5-5 type of guys. But Chandler Randall, he's going to look more like a Julius Randle, a DeMarcus Cousins. Jabari Washington, he's going to be a little different. He's attacking angles with muscle. He's getting around. He's hitting more of the shots that are from the outside. But I really like how they work as a tandem. I mean, I've got a few other lists. Brashawn Kennard from JW Elite. He was really nice as far as just being a pure point guard, which is really hard to find here. A lot of kids say they're point guards, but then the entry pass isn't there. And as soon as they get pressured, they give the ball up as soon as they cross half court. He did very well. And then Awake had a big three that if they start working together a little bit more and communicating and holding their position, they're going to rise up the standings. So it was John Slade, and I forget the other kid because, again, I'm on the road. I've got a playing game tomorrow, and traffic caught me from the hotel. But I got plenty of time for you. But those guys I just mentioned are maybe some breakout players to watch for Easter and going forward.
No, big time. Well, let's close with this. Let's talk about the undefeated teams that we had in the area. And I'm actually, if you can you see these okay?
Oh, I can see him fine. First one jumped off the page, of course. Off to you. I just mentioned
read through them and give me your thoughts on each of them. If you were able to see them, if you weren't, just give them a shout out. We'll give them some love. But I know you were watching most of these.
Oh yeah, and we can go all the way down. BYC, first time I really seen them. I've heard a lot about them. Talked to their coaches. I want to see more. The first time might be a fluke. Second time is, you're nice. Third time it's actually skills. They had a lot of it. I want to see that. Off to you. I just mentioned RC. They were nice. I think they were involved in a couple of blowouts, so it's kind of hard to scout blowouts. SM Ballers, I've talked to them. A few of their kids have actually reached out. I want to give them credit and that program credit for showing initiative and being the type that, hey, we're going to get with you next week. They actually got with me next week. Miles Select, Miles Academy. I mean, they had the Carson Clifford kid I mentioned earlier. Both two nice programs that when they meet, I'm going to watch. Florida Bayhawks has my MVP and Nick Merman. So, I love them. We could keep going on, but hey, let them earn it. Y'all go check out some of the write-ups. If you were on that list, you probably have a kid that caught my eye over the last 3 days, and I've at least put in some notes in there. Some got 2 pages worth of write-ups, some got 2 sentences. But if you were in Bryan, Texas, and you saw me around the gym, it's a busy time. So keep working, and we will see you on the rest of the circuit.
Yes, we will. We'll get to your play-in coverage for the National Basketball Association. Keep breaking that news, and we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day.
Hey, thank you. And, hey, I'll see you kids, wherever I see you on the circuit, but I will find you somewhere.
Very good. Mr. Dotson, ladies and gentlemen, talking about Bryan, Texas. Boy, he's becoming one of the fan favorites. And he's got some unbelievable interviews. I mean that dead serious. Just go check them out. A lot of good stuff. And again, that's good quality stuff where, young ladies, young men, as you're in our league and you get an opportunity to be interviewed, whether it's by Chris Dotson or someone else on our team, it's great opportunities for you guys to shine through and be able to, tell a little bit about, who you are and what you do. So keep up all that stuff. Our next guest is Matt Sinelli. He was out in Providence, Rhode Island, and where there was a lot of standouts. So, Matt, appreciate you joining us here. I want to start with the team that stood out the most to me from afar, just watching them. Above the Rim Elite seemed to have an awesome weekend and really separated themselves as a squad.
Yeah, 100%. What's up? With Above the Rim Elite, Alexander Echeverria, their point guard. He was my most impressive player of the week and also the MVP. Really stood out a lot to me. Friday night, walked over. First thing I see, he's diving over the floor, hustling for loose balls, picking up his teammates off the ground after they fall. Really, really showed himself as a leader to me, both offensively and defensively. He was in the AAU, you can see these guys doing it for themselves sometimes, but he was a team first guy throughout every single game. And I think he cared more about creating plays for his teammates than himself. But that also opened up plays for himself as well, too.
And I love that you brought that up because obviously, look, AAU basketball, grassroots basketball is meant to help these prospects get to the next level. That's the ultimate goal of the thing, which a lot of people believe, hey, I got to go score 40. You don't have to go score 40. If you can score 40, don't get me wrong. That's going to get you recruited. That's the facts. But in this case, you see a prospect play within himself, and it helps his teammates, but it also, like you said, it's opening up stuff for himself. So I think that's just a general note. Obviously, shout out to Alexander on that, but a general note in that, hey, prospects, if you're out there, you're playing hard, you're doing the right things, you're going to open up windows for yourself to score too. And we heard from Coach Case at Kansas on the Twin Talk show just yesterday, where he was talking, he's a point guard, and he was just talking, Matt, about how, point guard and a shooting guard are two very different things. We got a lot of shooting guards out there in the world, not a lot of point guards, not a lot of guys that can really orchestrate and run the offense. So next up, Keandre Dixie. I want to talk about him. Prestige Basketball, they had a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, big 6'2" physical wing. I watched him one game. He dominated inside. He was able to blow by his defender, and he was a really good finisher around the rim too. Knocked down 2-3 threes, so that really expanded his game. And very big, very physical. And if he gets a rebound, he's going straight to the hoop, the full court. And there's not many people that I saw that could stop him.
Let's talk about Rhode Island Elite as a program across the board here. They had multiple teams, and they performed really, really well.
Yeah. Muhammad, I think I'm saying this right, Muhammad Gateway from Rhode Island Elite 16U. He was the person who stood out to me the most from their 16U team, and then also their 15U or 14U team, Diego Fernandez. He's 6'10", really still learning the game, but 15U or 14U, forget which one it is, but when you're 6'10", you stand out on the floor no matter what. And
especially that young, right?
Yeah, he towered over opponents, and I mean, teams had to go zone against him because one-on-one down there, no one could stop him. But Rhode Island Elite as a program as a whole was very impressive to watch over the weekend. They had multiple guys, long, lengthy, with the ability to score the basketball. Every single kid in that program can really, really play basketball.
We're getting ready to bring up the 4-0 teams that went undefeated out there in Providence. And one of those teams where I guess we can start the list is Castle Athletics 14U. They had an awesome weekend and were able to really dominate, from every facet of the game. Yeah, Castle Athletics, the 14U team. If you watch them, they do not look like a 14U team. Like you said, they went 4-0 this weekend, and they won their games by an average of 67 points. Goodness gracious. Really impressive. Woo. They press you all game long, and if you can't break it, you're in for some trouble. But they have 12 guys, and every single guy on that team can play basketball, no matter if it's the 12th guy or the first guy. They're coming at you, and these kids are above their skill set for only being 14U. It was very, very impressive basketball to watch, and part of that has to do with coaching too. Very, very good coach and very disciplined team. All right, let's keep the trend up. John will make it go big full screen here, and let's run through these teams. If you don't have a comment on them, all good. Again, I know that you weren't watching every game on every court as much as we wish we could, but I'll let you take the reins and shout out those teams that went undefeated, and obviously add any tidbits to know of any teams that you were able to see. Yeah, so local legends, 17U. They have Matthias Lee, 6'5" wing. He has one Division I offer right now from Northern Illinois. Very good player. I expect those offers to keep coming in. But along him, they also have lots of size and length. They have Manny Villegas, who's about 6'8", and then they have some other 6'4", 6'5" guards, and they really hurt teams with their size and their length.
Wellington Wolves, the 16U team, both 16U teams actually, they had a very good weekend, very good talent. Palmetto
Their
Pride,
program, not sorry to butt in here, but their program, just on the girls' side, the guys' side, they seem to be one of the best coached, best organized, and obviously they've got players. You got to have players to win. So it's been impressive what they've been able to do across the board at all their events. They're kind of all over the country, frankly.
Yeah, and their 14U team went 4-0 this weekend too. So like you said, very, very impressive program. Palmetto Pride, 16U, they had a couple guys that could really play basketball as well. Local Legends, the 16U as well.
Local Legends is somebody to watch out for. Be interested in when we unveil the standings each week where they're going to be.
Yeah, and then capping off, like I said, Castle Athletics, the 14U team, was probably the team that I was most impressed with throughout the weekend so far.
Big time, big time. All right, my friend. Well, thanks so much, Matt, for joining us. Look forward to catching up with you here pretty soon on the road.
Thank you.
That was Matt Sinelli. I am Matt Reynolds. We are going to continue on. We've got one more spot to talk about, and that is Las Vegas. We've got Mr. Whittaker on here with us, who I know if you guys have been watching, he's on the show. Their show came out yesterday. They talked all about Vegas. So we're not going to go super in depth because I want you to go watch their show, what they talked about. But I do have to include it in here because I know a lot of people will watch this that had other events. So they're going to want to know what happened out in Vegas. So let's start with this. Aaron Britt Jr. seemed to be one of the stars of the weekend for you guys. We saw him in Dallas in week 1.
Right.
Super talented point guard.
Right. I'm gonna tell you, Matt. Just watch. I watch a lot of basketball. The thing I liked the most about Aaron Britt is usually in the AAU weekend, a kid will have one good game. Then the next game would be all right. Then the next game would be every game he played, he was the best player on the floor by far, and he talked. His leadership, his teammates, they listened to him. Whatever he said, just a combo guard that I love. Like he was legit. Playing, he was 16U playing up in the 17U division, and the 3 games I watched him play, he was the best player on the floor by far.
And you're seeing his highlights here. He can shoot the ball. I mean, he can absolutely fill it up, but he can also get others involved too. And I think that's where the combo guard, comes in. We're not going to go into this because again, I want them to watch this. But you talked with Coach Case about point guard play a lot. And I wouldn't say he's necessarily a point guard, but he is somebody in this day and age that. My guess is he'll end up playing point guard for somebody. More of a scoring point guard.
Yeah, but it will probably be he might have to play point guard at the next level just because they're going to say his size.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I feel like he can do it all. He was great in the pick and roll. I mean, making the back line defense coming and making that shot to the corner, kicking it for an open 3. Did a great job. And like I said, he was the best player on the floor every game I've seen by far.
Miles Wiggins, clutch elite. He was a standout all weekend long. Athleticism is a big notable thing, but the defense that he brought is not something you see every day, especially at a grassroots event.
And it wasn't just like the defense. It was more so doing the extra stuff, diving on the floor, trying to take charges, trying to block shots, not being scared to be put on the highlight if somebody tried to dunk on him. And he big, physical, and tough. Like I look like a football player, like a defensive end player, like a Julius Peppers playing basketball out there.
One of the games that really went down to the wire in this weekend out in Vegas was Mudville Elite, Perseverance Elite. They opened up the weekend and really had a good, intense game with a lot of prospects.
And the thing I would say about that game, what I love mostly about it, and we talked, like you said, you can go watch our previous show from Kansas City Stop, kind of got 8 o'clock in the game. You know how the kids are. That was an 8 o'clock game in Las Vegas, and the intent was crazy. We looked at each other and say, oh, yeah, it's going to be a good weekend if this is the first game we're going to witness.
No doubt. I think those 8 a.m. games, a lot of times you're sleepwalking.
Exactly.
Especially we don't think about this all the time, but you think about Vegas. Now, Vegas is a bad example, but Providence could be the opposite example where a team flies from the West Coast to the East Coast. If they're playing at 8 a.m., it might be 5 a.m. back home. It's getting prepared, and coaches, program directors, as you're watching this stuff, will tell you the big weeks are coming. The big weeks are coming. You better have your guys ready to play because you're going to have some 8 a.m. games. And being a separator at that 8 a.m., Dwayne can go a long way from being a guy that's just, there.
Huge way. I mean, it was sweating like it was 5 o'clock in the evening, playing hard. The fans was into it. It was back and forth. And Moodyville Elite pulled it out the end, 73-70. But Perseverance had an opportunity. They missed 2 layups late in the game where if they would have hit them, they would have probably end up winning the game.
All right, I got 2 more things. Again, go check out the show yesterday with Dwayne and his twin brother. Great stuff. It breaks out a lot more in Vegas, but last 2 that are pretty quick, and then we'll go through the undefeated teams. Northwest Legends. They brought a lot to the table, and particularly the point guard, my man Pat, went to work.
Real deal. Jack Lefty. And you want to know Northwest Legends, the thing about it is, like, you watch it. They was up against Jalen Wells Elite. Then they went down. He went to the bench, and I was watching him, and I could just see that look on his face. He had that determined, like, we're not going to lose it. And the score kept going up. They was down 16. Looked like they was down 20. He got back in the game, and it's like he every possession was like it was his last possession. He took over, and it wasn't just offensively. It was more so on the defensive end too. Make sure he get a stop.
All right, last but not least, I want you to give me a brief answer here because you talked a lot about it with your brother. Yeah. But our man AB or our man Bamba, he was incredible. I think he's the best prospect in 2028, not just in this country, but in any country. I think he's got a chance to be a very elite prospect. I know you think that as well. Just talk about his performances. We see his highlights here.
And you say 2028. I don't want to step on your toes, Matt, but I know I got to see a lot more basketball this summer. I'll probably go and say 27 too. And it's more so like, as a 7-footer at that young of an age, usually we'll look at somebody and be like, they haven't came into their body yet. You know what I'm saying? I watched him run up and down the court 3 times, and I knew it. Oh, yeah, he's going to be one. He's special. He's special. And it was like, he didn't say much, but he tried to dunk everything. I seen him shoot a couple of threes. His form looked good, dribbling. Like you see in the video, that Euro step, everything looked natural for him to be 15U playing up 16U. And, I don't like to throw this out there. And like I told my brother, and you guys will see on my show, I said it, he's a pro. And I don't even say that a lot.
No doubt. He is headed there. It's a lot to say for that young of age, but
right, exactly.
I would just say, if you're watching the show, you're out in LA, you're out in Memphis, you're out in Wichita, you're at these Pro 16 events, wherever they're playing, I'm going to watch.
I'll go
to watch.
I'll go to
There's a lot of those prospects we're going to see. I've been telling people, I've told you and your brother this as well. The season's going, but these are all prequels till we get to the action on May 2nd out in LA, followed by Memphis the next week, and then Wichita. The live period is going to really be the big event that pops off in the spring. And then that last weekend in the spring, that is, you haven't witnessed this yet, but mark it down that I told you this, that Memorial Day weekend. That's the last weekend that counts for the Pro 16 finals to make it for those Nxtpro teams.
I got you.
You're going to see the most intense games that you'll see all year because teams know, man, we got to win 3 games. We got to win 4 games. We got to go undefeated to have a chance. And it's, it's like we say, it's March Madness, but it's all throughout the summer. So before we get you out of here, I'm going to have John throw up the teams. I know you saw a lot of these teams, but if you didn't see them, that's all good. Just you can give some shout outs. But the undefeated team list, rattle those off, give them some love. And if you got any things to drop, notes that we haven't dropped already, go for it.
Oh, okay. Team Utah Red was pretty good. Yeah, they was pretty good. I mean, like I said, it wasn't Team Utah Red, but I mostly seen Team Utah Black. They do a great organization. And one thing I liked about that organization is like Team Utah Red, when they ran their sets, they ran their stuff, and it was to perfect. I ain't gonna say to perfection, but you looked over and like, oh, that was a good set.
High level program, high level coaching within the Utah program.
Exactly. And let me, pull it back up.
Obviously,
every edge. Every edge Elite 17U, I would probably say out of the first 2 weekends, probably the hardest playing team that I have seen by far. I'm talking about every game, and I think it's more so the energy the coach brings. You can tell, like, the kids play hard for him. He's just he coached just as hard as the kids play. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I like about it.
At the end of the day, that's, as a coach, you want to get the best out of your guys, and the best out of your guys, they got to be playing the hardest they can play. At the end of the day, that's a very, very big factor for sure. So,
and I don't know, is Northwest Legends 16U up there? I think they went undefeated, right?
Yep, they're up there.
Really good team. Really good team. I really like Northwest Legend. Like I said, talked about Pat, but they're a really good team. And they proved to me against Jalen Wells when they get down, they got the toughness to fight back. And they got the best uniforms so far that I've seen with the
Best uniforms, huh?
with the line, I mean,
Okay.
with the
Okay.
organ on his chest.
We're gonna have to, as the season goes, we like to get to May before we start voting on the uniforms. But
Oh, okay, I got you.
there's some really good uniforms. No, you listen. Hey, you throw it out there. I'm just telling you that there will be an actual vote period because they get to. That's the thing about our league. We let you guys design your uniforms. Some of you do a bad job. I'm just gonna be honest. Your
Yeah,
uniforms
look
are
too
trash.
plain. Yeah,
They're
look
just
too
not. They're
plain.
too plain, or you tried to do something and you tried too much. But a lot of them, and I'll be honest, I would say 85% of you this year have at least done a good job. And there's that 10% that is like,
Right.
okay, hey, I don't know who did this. Maybe it was a
Right.
team mom. Maybe it was the director. I'm
Right.
not sure who it was, but you were able to do it at a high level. So,
Right.
well, appreciate you. Keep doing
Yes,
a great
sir.
job on the show, and
Most
great
definitely.
stuff out from Vegas.
I appreciate you, Bob.
All right, that is all of guests for the week. But best part is still yet to come. Standings. So let's do this. Let's get to our first ones of the week. We're just doing high school for right now. Middle school, we want a few more games to be played. As we go through the sessions, I think once we get to next week's session, we'll have a more balanced approach as far as on those standings. High school has obviously been on the way for now 3 straight weeks, so there's a lot to dissect there. Let's pull up our first one and roll through it. Give John 1 sec here, but there it is, 15U. So again, for the full standings, you can check that out at nxtprohoops.com. We've got all the standings in the world that are on those. But let's talk about the teams currently in. And again, I'll explain the format once we get through all these. But the teams that are currently in 1 through 14, you've got above all sports. Way to go. Big time that they've been able to do. KC, Spurs, Brown, no shock there whatsoever. What they've been able to do. OTP, they're having a great year across the board, 17s, 16s, and 15s. Invictus Red Storm, Iowa Battlers coming in the top 5. Man, I got to say, very, very impressed with the Battlers so far in their performance here early on in the Nxtpro circuit. KC Red Storm Watson, below 0. I love your name, by the way. That's a good name. You got to be in a cold weather place to pull that name off, but I love the name. It's awesome. Any Hoops Elite, shout out to them. They've been able to take advantage here early on and have some big victories. E2E Elite at the 9 spot. Exclusive Hoops rounds out the top 10. Number 11, it's a Florida squad, North Florida United. Number 12, JH5. They bring it as a program. They have been fantastic. Really have a lot of high-level players across their entire program. Team Utah, another one of those programs we're very impressed with. GSA All-Stars at 14. Now let's talk about the play-in pool. Chapman Basketball, who was able to win at 15U last year in the Nxtpro League. They are at 15 right now, and then at 16 is the Oklahoma Wolfpack. First 4 out. Rice Basketball is at 17. Peoria Pride is at 18. Off to you. The Fighting Monty Patels, I like to call them, at 19, and the Iowa Suns at 20. Now, again, of note, you want to be in the top 14. That guarantees solidifies your spot. If you're in the play-in spot, so if you're in that 15, 16 spot at the end of May, when the Pro 16 finals standings are set, then you still go, but you've got to compete to get into the bracket at that point. For Richmond, we'll have the play-in pools, and then obviously in Bryan the next week, the live period finals for Pro 16. Everybody goes to the Nxtpro finals, so the seeding matters. It'll be 1 through 200, and obviously you don't want to be in the 200 spot. You want to be as high as you can get to set yourself up for success. But I will say last year we had a seed of a team that was, I believe, 179. They won their first round game. So again, anything can happen. You just never know, but that is, coming up, the final tournament, the Nxtpro finals in Orlando. Those standings go all the way through, even into July. They're extended out into that first weekend. So just the final standings in May for what we're talking about here for this purpose are for the Pro 16 finals. And then obviously those same standings carry over, but you'll have some change because July 4th, more teams will be in action for their 5th event of the year. Now let's talk about 16U. We got to start off with Mile Academy. What a start they've had to the season. Shout out to them. Team Miami At number 2, they've been up towards that 1 spot quite a bit across the board. Been very, very impressed with them. KC Spurs Weston, again, I'm not shocked that my man Don is coaching his team to great success because the KC Spurs have been a mainstay, frankly, having a team every single season in at least one age in the Pro 16 finals. And it looks like they're potentially going to be back to their winning ways yet again. The Village Warriors are at 4. Waukee Jam East. They had a big, big weekend this weekend. They are at 5. Exclusive Hoops at 6. Northwest Legends at number 7 coming in off their undefeated weekend. Number 8 is the KC Spurs Whitelaw. We've seen this a couple times in the history of the Nxtpro and Pro 16 circuit where teams can get 2 teams in. It'll be hard to do for the KC Spurs, but I got to say, Whitelaw and Weston, both squads at 16U, very, very talented. Future Prep is at 9. Right there in the top 10, rounding it out is an Oklahoma squad. That's Oklahoma Wolfpack Mason. Shout out to them. Way to get into the top 10. Brick Squad Monopoly at 11. Got to give a shout out to our man Waka. Way to go. You guys are doing great. James Black, the living legend. He has his squad at number 11 in the 16U. At 12, Miles Select Black. Now, don't get that confused. Miles Select and Mile Academy, not the same thing. So 2 different programs there. Shout out to both. Build Your Way Elite. Hey, again, that's 1 clap for you. Way to go. You guys had a big win outside of Pro 16 and the Nxtpro circuit on the road out on the West Coast last weekend. So shout out to you guys beating the 3SSB squad. 14 is Strictly Ballas. And the play-in pool at 16U. 15 is Kentuckiana Hoops. And 16 is Southern Ties Nxtpro. Don't look now. They might be trying to get 2 teams in at that 16U. First 4 out. 17 is Clutch Elite. At 18 is Local Legends. 19, Run as One Black. And 20, last but not least, Reno Ballers. All right, let's move on to our 17U. This is the one all eyes are on. Every eye is on as the Pro 16 Finals at 17U, one of the biggest, best events in the country. And it is an event that you do everything you can to get to because, frankly, if you're there, you are going to get to play big-time talent, and you are going to get to play in front of college coaches. We saw it last year. Rogue Basketball, how about them? They had a big week, but Rogue Basketball, most notably, hadn't played their first tournament with us yet. They come up this week in Norman, so you'll start hearing a lot about them and Ernie Barber. But to give them a shout-out from last year, they were able to get into that top pool. They played all the best teams that we had in Phoenix last year, which will be Richmond weekend this year, and then followed it up the following weekend, which will be Bryan this year in round 2 or week 2 of the Pro 16 Finals. As it is a 2-week finals, the bracket portion, we're able to get themselves set up for success the best they could. But most notably, they beat the champs last year. BTI lost to Rogue in the first period of the Pro 16 Finals. So anything can happen. Anything can happen. Let's talk about it though. 17U. Here's who's currently in. The Florida Bayhawks, way to go. A big time improvement this year. They've been able to make a big step as a program. They are in that number 1 spot right now. Cap City Scrappers is at 2. Team Miami is at 3. And I know you guys are coming for it because, hey, you're like, wait a second. We're used to that number 1 spot. As is Factory out in Arizona. They had that number 1 spot for a little bit. They had a big week outside of the Nxtpro Pro 16 circuit on the road. Again, a big shout out to Kenny Mullins. Gave him a shout out earlier. Their squad doing some big things, had a big win over Dream Vision 3SSB on the road this past weekend. So way to go. They're in the top 5 along with Every Edge Elite, which Dwayne was just talking about, one of the hardest playing teams. OTP is at 6. Iowa Battlers at 7. Region Force is at 8. RSE Basketball, man, I got to say, you guys in Oklahoma, you're off to a pretty good start. Very impressive stuff. At number 10 is Team Ish. Team Ish is a Pro 16 at 16U. At 17U, they were really freaking close to getting that tag as well, and they're in the top 10. No surprise there for the Nxtpro section. At 11 is Real Phenom out of Minnesota, up north. Big things Nick Brock's doing with that group. At 12 is Save Sports Elite. 13 is Team Next Generation. 14, the last team in right now, SM Ballers. Don't get comfortable now. Don't get comfortable. Hey, you're cool with being 14 at the end of May, but you want to continue to move up. That is very important. In the play-in pool, if we stopped the standings today, would be Team Black out of Utah. Team Utah, their squads are always impressive. And no shock there that they're in the top 16. Clutch Elite is at 16. Shout out to them. They are much improved this year, doing some big things as well. At 17 is Lincoln Supreme. Their second squad, that's the Nxtpro squad, not the Pro 16 squad. So shout out to them to be in the top 20 at this stage is very big. At 18 is Local Legends. We're looking forward to a lot out of them. Same thing with Jalen Wells Elite. They already have a Pro 16 win, but they're going to have to continue to have some 4-0 weeks to get higher in these standings, as well as they tripped up with some losses. Missouri Flight is at 20. Shout out to Zell Lamberth doing some big things. That's your high school standings. Again, next week, we're going to dive into the middle school standings for the first time. That's all the boys standings that we have. Nxtprohoops.com again has the extended standings. Every team in the Nxtpro circuit is going to Orlando at the end of the year, July 24th through the 27th. We can't wait to have you. We've got some big things. We actually met with the city of Orlando. There's discounted park tickets. We've been sending emails and texts out about that. So, hey, take advantage of that stuff. You know, it's a great opportunity. Yes, play some basketball, but also have some fun over there at Universal and all the other parks that they have in the great, metro area of Orlando. All right, coming up next now, we've got some more standings for you. That was all the boys. Now it's time to flip the script a little bit, and we will go over to the girls' side of things, as there's a lot to talk on those. Obviously, we're getting into what is going to be the biggest week of the girls' circuit yet coming up, and that is, yes, we have the live period. It's earlier than the boys. Still a lot of portal stuff going on, so maybe not the colleges – maybe not out as much as they will be later on, but they're going to be out and about. Like I said, we've already got a lot of registrations for that. And I think that just speaks to the talent of the circuit in its first year. And it's going to obviously continue to grow and grow and grow. 96 teams out there in Norman here coming up. And some of those teams, many of those teams, we're about to go over here in the standings that we've got for you. These standings here that we're talking about are for the Nxtpro finals on the girls' side in year one. It's all going towards Orlando. Everybody's headed to Orlando, and that's what we're playing for. The top 20 seeds is what we'll go over tonight. Start with the 17 new girls, the Iowa Battlers. You saw them quite a bit on the guys' side as well. They've been very impressive as a program, as have the Charlotte Monarchs. Utah Hoops is up there as well, representing for the state. Southern Elite Foundation Academy Sports, West Academy. Shout out to Scoot Henderson's squad. They've been big time. Primetime Family is up there in the top 8. YB33 having a big time year with their Rain Black squad. At 10 is Handles Times Buckets, or Handles X Buckets, I should say. 11 is Network Elite. 12 is Wisconsin Shooters Yow. 13 is Utah Next Level Basketball. 14, Roots Academy. Having a big start to their season. City Elite Supreme is at 15. AWG, they are at the 16th spot. Pink Elite, love their program. They do a lot of great things. They are at number 17 on top 20 seed right now. 3, The Hard Way is at 18. At 19 is Bad Girls Basketball. At 20 is the Rise Squad. And again, full standings. You can check those out. Those full standings are on nxtprohoops.com. So, go check it out, nxtprohoops.com. A lot of great stuff there, both on the girls' coverage, but obviously the full extended standings are there as well. We continue on as we are going through the standings across here, the network, but we need to take a quick timeout before we can get to our final two and one final word from myself, as we've got a big Easter weekend coming up, but we do need to take a break. We'll be right back. Right after this, you're watching the Nxtpro Sports Show right here with Matt Reynolds. All right, thanks for hanging out with us there during the break. To wrap up, we've got to get to 15U standings and 16U standings on the girls' side. So let's start with 16U next. As the 16U, very, very talented, and you got to start with Pink Elite. Just an impressive start to their season. Pink Elite has been unbelievable. So way to go. Number 2 is Iowa Battlers. Again, can't say enough about their program top to bottom. Charlotte Marnox, you're starting to catch a trend. Those 3 programs have been towards the top of a lot of standings. And hey, no shock to say the least with what they've been able to do. Houston Apex is at 4. Alabama Twisters Elite is at 5. Takeover Academy at 6. Team Arkansas representing the state well at 7. Utah Hoops at 8. Scoot Henderson Elite. Man, that's one of the best names, I got to say. And they're at number 9. Doing big things. At 10 is H2 Basketball. 11 is Hard to Guard out of Colorado. Number 12 is Primetime Family. Utah Next Level Basketball is at 13. 14 is Great Lakes. 15 is Chapman Basketball. 16, City Elite. They're off to a great start. City Elite Supreme, Spark Squad specifically. Number 17 is Low Country Ballers, Premium Ballers, I should say. Off to a big start to their season. Number 18 is Intensity, and they bring it. They absolutely bring it. 19 is C4 Attack, and 20 is Iowa Legacy Diplomats. Again, full standings, nextprohoops.com. But last but not least, we've got to get to the final standings for the show today, and that is in the girls section at 15U. So as we bring those up, we want to just remind you again, Easter weekend this weekend, we are in Norman with the boys tournament. We are in Tampa with the boys tournament, and we're in just outside of Philly and Valley Forge with a big girls tournament and a big boys tournament at same city, 2 different venues, one for the girls, one for the guys. And it's going to be an awesome weekend that we see a lot of talented prospects, a lot of talented, that's on display. So check out those tournaments. But before we go, we got to get you the 15U standing. So here it is. Wellington Wolves is at the top right now and doing some very, very impressive things. Fireball Basketball Academy is at number 2. Chapman Basketball doing, well, what they do. Network Elite is at 4. Low County Premium Ballers is again at 5. Extreme Pressure at 6, City to City at 7, Primetime Family at 8, Iowa Battlers at 9. That means every Iowa Battlers team, by the way, is in the top 10 so far. City Elite Supreme is rounding out the top 10 of the 15U. Utah Hoops is at 11, 3 The Hard Way at 12, Grind Until at 13, Pink Elite at 14. All of their teams at 17s, 16s, and 15s are in the top 20. Shout out to Pink Elite. Arkansas Lady Supreme is at 15, Hard to Guard at 16. You've seen their name multiple times throughout these standings on the girls' side. Showtime Elite is at 17. At 18 is the Osceola Lady Cyclones. Utah Stars are at 19. And at 20 is Utah Next Level Basketball. Well, it's been a really, really fun show, but unfortunately it is time to go. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We will, again, continue to have these shows Tuesday nights. Check out the Nxtpro show right here. Twin Talk on Wednesdays, and on Thursdays, we've got Around the Hoop, as well as, don't forget, Kicking It with Kana weekly with one of our athletes as we break down just a little bit more than basketball and dive into who they are as an athlete, but who they are also as a person. Thanks so much for taking the time out to join me tonight, and we'll see you next week.